guys, welcome back to my channel. So today I'm kind of just in a mood and I'm not feeling well, and I asked my Patreon, actually, which I have a Patreon, it's always linked down below. I asked on my Discord, I was like, hey, what videos do you guys want to see? You know, what like sit down videos? And they said, we want you to rant about your least favorite books. So I was like, okay, you got it. So they picked this video out for me this week. So basically, I'm trying to pull up Goodreads right now. I'm just gonna pick 10 of my least favorite books that I've ever read. Editing Meg here actually had 12 books to talk about. So I changed this from 10 books to 12. 10 of my like worst 1-star books that I've read, and I'm just going to rant about them and tell you what I hated about them. I always give very honest reviews. Like if a book pisses me off and I genuinely hate it, like I'm gonna give it 1 star. I'm going to tell you the truth. I'm going to be honest with you why I didn't like it. But you know, I genuinely don't care if other people like these books. Like if you like these books, I'm happy for you. I'm glad, like I'm just glad that you like something. You know, I would never judge someone based on their reading taste. And so I don't mean this to be like personally offensive towards anyone who loved these books. So if you take offense to that, that's on you, okay? Sorry, it's out of my hands now because that was not my intention. So that's on you if you are offended. So we're just gonna go ahead and get started. I'm already looking at some ones that I'm like, oh, these were so bad. These were so bad. Okay, so let's just start with Sally Rooney. Honestly, the elephant in the room. I have both. I read Conversations with Friends and I read Normal People, and I gave both 1 star. I actually have her new book because I'm going to be reading it for Patreon, because people in my Patreon said that they actually really loved it and they hate her other books. So I'm curious, but yeah, Conversations with Friends, absolutely hated this book. My review on Goodreads says Conversations with the Drywall. Because it was so dry and boring. So yeah, this book, again, like I hate her characters. I honestly do not think that her characters have any depth to them. And the thing that pissed me off about this book specifically was the fact that she randomly threw in that the one character has endometriosis. And you guys know, like, I have endometriosis. The topic is very near and dear to my heart. And you know, the problem with endometriosis is it gets thrown around a lot in literature, but the accurate representation is never there, or very rarely there. Because, you know, it's a disease that affects so many women, but yet the facts are always misrepresented and wrong in a lot of fiction and nonfiction even. And so basically she says that this character had a uterus condition and it was like diagnosed in the ER, and I was like, okay, this is so unrealistic because it is not a uterus condition. It's a whole body disease where the cells are similar to the lining of the uterus, but they're not. So like getting a hysterectomy, taking birth control, like the endometriosis still grows because it's not coming from the uterus. And then also, you know, like it's diagnosed through surgery. You're not just gonna get a random ER diagnosis. So this book honestly just pissed me off. Then I was like, you know what, I'm gonna read Normal People because everyone's raving about this book. Trash. I have a whole video ranting about this book on its own. This book was so bad. It was so bad. The character is awful. It was like, he's just a boy, she's just a girl. Can I make it any more obvious? And like, that was the whole book. And it was like, she tries to, you know, talk about these serious subjects like domestic, like relationship abuse, physical abuse, and which is a serious topic. And it's thrown around in a way where like it makes, the book makes it seem less serious than it is because it's so poorly written. I honestly, I truly do not understand the hype with her as an author, but you know what? I am going to give her new book a very, very fair review. So we'll see if my feelings have changed about her, but like, I want to throw up. Like, I actually just did throw up in my mouth talking about those two books. So yeah, moving on. A Court of Thorns and Roses by Sarah J. Maas. I also read this book for a video on its own, and it's like this smut Beauty and the Beast retelling, and oh my god! This was horrendous. Again, horrible characters, very cheesy, corny dialogue, very bizarre relationship with our main character and this fairy wolf man. I honestly don't even remember the book, but like I said, I do have a full spoiler video on this one, but I just remember her like perusing around this mansion that she was like kidnapped in. And he was like in love with her for no reason, and she was like in love with him for no reason. And like her reasoning for being in love with this man is like, oh wow, he has muscles and he's strong. Ew. Not my type, sorry. And then it's like we go through this whole book where like it's literally like watching paint dry because nothing was happening. It was so boring and so cheesy, and the dialogue was so bad, so cringy. And then we get to the second half and it's like finally things start happening, and it's like, oh, the answer is love, the end. And then people are like, oh, but the second book is so much better. I own the second book and I don't even want to think about reading this because I will honestly off myself. It's been sitting on my shelf for a year now. I don't know if I can bring myself to do it, you guys. House Across the Lake by Riley Sager. So this is my least favorite Riley Sager book, one of my least favorite thrillers of all time, because we just have a drunk woman. I'm pretty sure she was drunk. Honestly, I'm sorry. I kind of feel like I'm drunk right now, even though I'm not. So I'm not giving the best, I'm not really giving any synopses on any of these books because I have brain rot right now. I have straight brain rot. I do have, once again, an entire video about this on my channel, which I do for most of these, but this book, I'm pretty sure it was like a drunk woman looking at this couple from in the house across the lake. I literally sound like I'm drunk. She's like spying on them with her little binoculars. She sees a whole bunch of shit, and then it's like all kinds of stuff going on with this lake. It's all of this paranormal, supernatural sort of thriller. And I hate when my thrillers take me into this like ridiculous, over the top, ridiculous, cheesy, paranormal, supernatural thing. And this got so ridiculous with this lake, and there were souls involved, and there were body. It was a hot mess. It was a hot mess. Hotter than the hot handyman that Riley Sager puts in his books. Like, this book was a mess. It was just twist after twist after twist that was like ridiculous. There were plot holes, things didn't make sense. I just felt like I was reading a whole bunch of fuckery. Someone on my Patreon said that it's like he plugs into like a random number generator or something, like what his twists are gonna be. Or like he puts them on a wheel and he just spins it and he's like, okay, what's the next twist gonna be? And it's like something completely insane that doesn't even make sense with the story. That's how I feel about Riley Sager a lot of the times. Housemaid by Frida McFadden. I can't stand Frida McFadden and her books, okay? Because she copies a lot of her ideas, and allegedly I wouldn't know anything about this. I'm not accusing her of this for legal purposes, but allegedly I hear that she plagiarizes books, okay? And The Housemaid was allegedly plagiarism for The Last Mrs. Parrish by Liv Constantine. And this book here is literally the exact same book except with an epilogue at the end. Allegedly. I'm just saying, allegedly. I don't understand how her books are so popular. I don't understand how she blew up. There are so many sketchy things involving this author. There are Reddit rabbit holes that you could go down. I mean, there are threads and threads and threads online about this author and all of these sketchy things. That's all I gotta say. I will never read another book by her ever again. I have no idea why she's so popular. I keep seeing her everywhere. I keep seeing her books everywhere. And then people keep reading them because they're like easy popcorn thrillers. But I'm like, you can read, there are so many better authors out there that you could be reading from, okay? Trust me. Fourth Wing by Rebecca Yarros. Again, I have another full spoiler video on this one. This is, my review says, if I looked up dumpster fire in the dictionary, it would be this mess. This book was a hot mess, fantasy, dragons, you know, whatever. Romance. Oh, it was so bad. This was gag-worthy. Actually gag-worthy. I mean, the romance aspects, horrible, cringy. It felt like YA, but with like adult sex scenes. It was so bizarre. It was like the author was like, oh, this is very YA. I have to add this like super intense sexual scene in there to remind them that they're adults. And it just did not work. It was disgusting because in my mind, they read like they were 15. This was just really bad. I mean, I think I read parts of the sex scene out loud in my video because it was so bad. It was honestly, I feel like I need to scrub my brain again because just thinking about it, I want to throw up. But besides that, there were so many plot holes. I mean, the way that this college or this, what was it? It was like some kind of school. The way that it functioned didn't make sense. The way like they were training for this war, it didn't make sense. Like there were so many things that I picked out that legitimately did not make sense. And this is another one of those books where I'm like, how did this blow up so quickly? How is this getting like movie rights or whatever? It was just dumpster fire. Dumpster fire. Okay, Diavolo. I still don't know how to pronounce this stupid book, but it's by Jennifer Thorne. And if you saw, like, I've ranted about this book in multiple videos so far this year. This is about this ghost with piss yellow hair. And literally, it says that she has piss yellow hair in the book. And the spookiest, craziest thing that she does is she turns things piss yellow in the apartment. So like the duvet will be piss yellow. And then she makes the food moldy in the fridge. This is labeled as like one of the best horror books that have come out this year and all these people were so scared reading it. That's literally all that happened in the whole book. Just like piss yellow objects, piss yellow hair, moldy food, and then the main character corrects everyone's Italian pronunciations the entire book. So we have just like 200 pages of her being like, that's not how you say that in Italian. And then 100 pages of piss yellow. And family drama. So... okay. The Last Word by Taylor Adams. This book, I hated this thriller. You know, this woman gives this guy 1 star on Goodreads and he starts stalking her or whatever. This author is like stalking her. And I gave this book 1 star on Goodreads and I hope I'm getting stalked because I feel like I have I have some beef with Taylor Adams, I'm not gonna lie. But yeah, this book was just like annoying chase scenes, annoying, isolated, like paranoid scenes of this girl and the same like two guys throughout the whole book, and people were telling me that I didn't understand the book. Like, the people in the comments that are like, oh, but I'm smarter than you. No, this book just sucked. Like, let's just call it like, I'm just calling it how it was for me personally. This book sucked, okay? This one guy was like swinging his katana around throughout the entire book. The word katana was used probably 200 times. I mean, this was just ridiculous. It was like a wild goose chase of nonsense and fuckery. It was like, oh, let me chase you around the aisle in the kitchen. Like, ooh, which way are you going? Please, this is why I stopped reading thrillers, honestly. Penance by Eliza Clark. So this is like fictionalized true crime. So it's like true crime drama, lit fic, has some historical fiction elements in there almost. So it's like mixed media where this journalist is telling us what happened to this girl that was burned alive by her 3 friends. And so we're following this whole drama, and the way that this book was written was so dense and boring. I could not get through it. We had these really long like historical fiction chapters in there where they were like these dense chapters of like history and like words that didn't make sense to me because I'm an idiot, and it was so grueling to get through. And then we finally get to the chapters with like the teenage girls and their perspectives and what happened, and it was like, oh my god, TBH, like, she's such a slut at the Halloween party, TBH, like, oh my god. And it read like that for pages and pages and pages and pages. Oh my god, like, TBH, like, oh, she's such a slut. I think I've gotten to the point where I'm realizing that I hate books involving teenagers. Like, if teenagers are involved in the book, I'm over it. I can't do the teenagers, the teen drama. It's just not something that I want to be reading as a 31-year-old. I'm over it, honestly. At 11 by Jimmy Giuliano. So I actually just read this one for my Patreon. It was our October book club pick, and oh my god. This cover is so cute. I was expecting at least to be entertained. It's mixed media. You know, this woman disappeared from this island, and this island's kind of like stuck back in time in the 90s. I don't know. It sounded like it might at least be interesting, but it was so bad. It was so boring. The writing was terrible. I just hated the way that these characters, there were so many POVs, so much mixed media. It was almost 500 pages, and if you read 100 pages of this book, you've read the entire book because barely anything happens. So you're just reading from these annoying perspectives, and the adults, like the grown-ass women, sounded like they were children, and I was getting them mixed up with the teenagers because they all sounded exactly the same. The writing was just insufferable. Execution was just so bad, and it was so dull. Like, for 500 pages, more should have been going on than like, oh, a woman's missing. Okay. And then we're reading text messages from these teenagers flirting with each other. Like, what the fuck? What the hell was this book? Honestly. And then the explanation for what was going on, I actually laughed out loud because I was like, this is so ridiculous. It was very YA, labeled as adult. Once again, I can't stand when adult books I can't stand when basically YA books are labeled as adult. This was a children's book, pretty much. This was basically Goosebumps but 500 pages long. This is Bunny by Mona Awad. Sorry, but I am a bunny hater. I know so many people love this book. I do not. I don't understand the hype. I really enjoyed the beginning of this book and it just went so far downhill. If I had to read the word bunny one more time, I was going to jump off a bridge. Bunny, 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 oh bunny, you're so funny, bunny, you're such a slut, bunny. Like, what the fuck is this goddamn book? And then it just went so off the rails, bizarre, ridiculous. And then it's like, oh, well, it's one of those books you have to read 8 times in order to understand it, or in order to like formulate a theory on what's going on. I don't care. I'm sorry. I know people love this one. I do not care. I just hate books that go so far off the fucking deep end that I can't even formulate what the hell might be going on in my brain. I don't want to have to go down Reddit forums. I don't want to have to think about this. Like, I like ambiguous books where I can come up with theories and there's not a clear-cut, definitive answer or ending. I like that sort of thing, but this was so far off the deep end that I could not get invested in this, and I hated this. I hated this so much. Let's do one more. I'm gonna say A House at the Bottom of a Lake by Josh Malerman. So this entire book is about swimming. So it's about these 2 teenagers. They find a house at the bottom of a lake. That's it. You don't have to read the book now. That's what this book is. And they just swim the whole time. And then there's like this really gross, like in-depth sex scene with these teenagers. And it didn't need to be in there because it was gross because they were children. And it served no purpose to the book. And that's it. That's all that happened. They find a house at the bottom of a lake and yeah. Very thrilling stuff. So if you like books that are just about swimming and gross teenage sex, go read this book. Those are the books that I think I hate the most. When I went down my list, I was like, yeah, I really don't think it gets any worse than these books for me personally. So yeah, I'm sorry if you are offended. Actually, no, I'm not. But I love you guys who are not offended, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.